He had always known that traveling alone with a baby was going to be difficult, but he had never imagined just how exhausting it could feel. The single dad, who worked tirelessly as a janitor, had spent the past few days preparing for this trip. He had packed everything carefully, folding tiny clothes neatly into a small suitcase, making sure to include diapers, wipes, and a few favorite toys. Even though he often felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, there was a sense of pride in taking care of his child entirely on his own. This trip was important. He had to be at an event that meant a lot to his family, a moment where he hoped he could create some happiness and memories with his child. The airport was bustling with people, hurrying to catch their flights, rolling suitcases behind them and dragging tired children through the terminals. He gripped the handle of his suitcase tightly while holding his baby close, feeling the warmth of the small body against his chest. The baby's tiny fingers curled around his thumb, and for a moment he felt a spark of comfort. But that sense of calm quickly disappeared as the baby began to fuss, a soft whimper at first, then louder, more insistent cries. He tried to soothe the baby with gentle rocking, whispering quiet words of reassurance. But the crowded noises of the airport, the rolling suitcases, announcements over the speakers, conversations in different languages, seemed to overwhelm the child. People glanced over, some with sympathetic smiles, others with impatient frowns. The dad felt a pang of self-consciousness, wishing he could make the baby stop crying, wishing he could control everything around him. By the time they reached the gate, he was already sweating from the effort. He tried to feed the baby, hoping a bottle would calm the cries, but the baby refused, turning the head away. He adjusted the carrier, walked in circles, softly humming a tune he remembered from his own childhood, anything to bring comfort. Each attempt seemed to help a little, then fail again. He felt the fatigue building, the kind of deep, bone-tired exhaustion that comes from constant vigilance, from caring for someone completely dependent on you. The boarding process began, and he felt a mixture of dread and determination. He had flown before, but never with a baby on his own. The flight attendants directed him to the plane, and he carefully navigated the narrow aisle, trying to avoid bumping into passengers or carts. People moved around him, some smiling at the sight of the baby, others sighing at the disturbance. He focused on keeping the baby calm, murmuring soft words. But the crying only grew louder as the plane started to fill. Once they were seated, he buckled himself in and tried to secure the baby safely in the carrier on his lap. The baby's cries pierced through the cabin, a sound that seemed to echo and magnify in the enclosed space. He felt the heat rising to his face, a combination of embarrassment, frustration, and helplessness. He tried gentle rocking, a soft shushing sound, and even tapped lightly on the baby's back, hoping something would work. Passengers around him shifted uncomfortably, some offering awkward smiles, others closing their eyes or turning away. He noticed a few sympathetic glances, but they were brief and fleeting. The sense of isolation settled in, making the moment feel even heavier. He thought back to the mornings at the janitorial job, sweeping floors, emptying trash cans, polishing surfaces, while dreaming of a life where he could spend more time with his child. Those mornings had been long and exhausting, yet he had always returned home with a sense of satisfaction, knowing he was providing for his child. But here, in the midst of strangers on a plane, all the strength and endurance he had built felt fragile. He felt like he was failing in front of everyone, and the baby's cries were a sharp reminder of his vulnerability. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. The engines roared as the plane taxied and took off, the vibrations and pressure changes making the baby even more uncomfortable. The father shifted positions, adjusting the carrier, lifting the baby slightly, and rocking with careful, measured movements. He whispered stories of imaginary lands, animals, and gentle adventures, anything to capture the baby's attention and soothe the rising anxiety. But the cries continued, sometimes softening for a few moments, only to rise again in louder, more urgent bursts. His arms ached, his back protested, and yet he continued, because there was no choice, no other way to manage the situation. Around him, passengers grew restless. Some whispered to each other, glancing in his direction. Others tried to distract themselves with books, screens, or headphones, but the sound of a crying baby is difficult to ignore. The dad noticed the tension in the cabin and felt it press down on him, an invisible weight of judgment and impatience. He wished he could disappear, wished he could make the noise stop, wished he could make everything calm and normal again. He took deep breaths, trying to keep himself composed, reminding himself that the baby's discomfort was not his fault, that he was doing everything he could. A flight attendant appeared, offering a kind smile and soft words. She suggested different techniques, ways to hold or soothe the baby, but nothing seemed to work for long. Each attempt was a brief relief followed by renewed cries, and the father's hope began to waver. Yet, he refused to give up. He knew that his child's comfort depended entirely on him, and despite the mounting stress and exhaustion, he continued to offer warmth, reassurance, and unwavering attention as the flight climbed higher. He caught sight of a few passengers who seemed to understand. One elderly man gave a small nod of encouragement, a silent acknowledgement of the difficulty of traveling with a child. A young woman smiled faintly, offering a reassuring glance. Those small gestures felt like lifelines, reminders that human compassion still existed even amidst impatience and noise. But for the most part, the crying seemed endless, a test of endurance, patience, and love. He thought about the life he had built, the daily routines, the struggles of raising a child alone while working demanding jobs, and the moments of pure joy that made it all worthwhile. Each laugh, each smile, each small milestone of his child's growth had been earned through effort, sacrifice, and unconditional love. And now, in this crowded plane, facing judgment and exhaustion, he held on to that love as the one thing that could not be taken away. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. He tried every trick he knew, every method he had read about or been advised on. He softly sang, told gentle stories, adjusted the baby's position, rocked carefully in rhythm, whispered words of comfort, and even whispered apologies to the passengers, wishing he could make the situation better. The baby's cries had moments of quiet, but the tension never fully left the cabin. The father remained vigilant, every sense alert, every movement calculated to minimize discomfort. Somewhere amidst the struggle, he caught sight of a distinguished woman in uniform, sitting a few rows ahead, observing quietly. There was something calm and steady in her presence that seemed almost magnetic. He wondered if she understood the challenges of parenting, if she had children herself, if she had ever faced such moments of exhaustion and helplessness. Her gaze was steady, not judgmental, and that small detail brought a fleeting sense of relief, a hint that perhaps he was not entirely alone in this. The flight had only just begun, and yet the father had already experienced the full weight of traveling with a baby alone. He reflected on the life he led, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, and the constant need to persevere. And as he looked down at his child, whose tiny fingers occasionally clutched at his shirt, he felt a renewed sense of determination. No matter how hard it became, no matter how long the cries lasted, he would not give up. He would continue to offer comfort, love, and presence, because that was the only way he could protect and nurture the little life entrusted to him. The plane hummed steadily as it soared into the sky. The father continued to rock, to whisper, to soothe. Every passenger around him might have their own thoughts and judgments, but in this small space, the bond between father and child was all that mattered. And somewhere beyond the cries, Beyond the exhaustion, a sense of hope lingered, fragile but real, waiting for a moment of unexpected kindness that might change everything. The journey had just begun, and while the challenges were daunting, the father faced them with unwavering love and quiet courage, holding his child close against the noise, the chaos, and the endless questions of a world that did not always understand the struggles of a single parent. The plane had been in the air for a while, and the father could feel the weight of every minute. His arms were tired, his back ached, and yet the baby continued to cry. It was not the soft whimper from earlier. This was a persistent, urgent sound, demanding attention and patience beyond what most could give. He tried everything he knew. He rocked the baby gently, sang soft lullabies, and whispered comforting words. He even tried tapping the baby's back lightly in rhythm, hoping the sound would soothe. Sometimes it worked for a few seconds, and those moments felt like victories. But each pause ended, and the crying returned louder than before. Around him, the passengers were growing restless. He could feel their impatience, their shifting in their seats, the way some of them looked toward him with silent judgment. He understood. Babies crying on planes were not uncommon, but the intensity of the moment made everything seem amplified. He felt the pressure of eyes on him, the expectation that he should fix something that was out of his control. And yet, he could not leave the baby's side, could not stop holding and comforting the small life that depended entirely on him. He shifted in his seat, trying a different position. He leaned slightly to the side, cradled the baby closer, murmuring words of reassurance. The baby's little fingers curled around his thumb, searching for comfort. He noticed the baby's tiny eyes, wide with confusion and discomfort, and he felt his heart tighten. He hated seeing this little one so upset, hated the helplessness that washed over him. He reminded himself that this was normal, that babies could get fussy and overwhelmed, especially with the noise, movement, and change of the plane. But knowing it was normal did not make it easier. He thought back to the mornings at his job, cleaning the hallways and offices, the quiet satisfaction of a space well cared for. There, he had control over his work, a rhythm he understood. Here, on the plane, control was an illusion. Every passenger had expectations. Every sound and movement affected the baby. And yet he had to keep going, keep trying, keep holding. His mind wandered to the small things he did at home to soothe the baby, rocking in the chair, singing lullabies, gentle baths, the comfort of familiar toys. None of those comforts were easily replicated in the tight, confined space of the plane. The baby's cries caught the attention of a few passengers nearby. Some offered gentle smiles or whispered words of encouragement. Others turned away, covering ears, sighing with frustration. The father felt the sting of judgment, yet he also felt a flicker of gratitude for the small gestures of understanding. It reminded him that not everyone was impatient, that there were people capable of empathy even in stressful situations. But most of all, it reminded him of his responsibility. He was the one who had to provide calm, comfort, and love, no matter the exhaustion or the eyes watching him. Minutes passed like hours. He tried feeding the baby again, hoping a bottle would calm the cries. The baby took a few sips, but soon pulled away, frowning, upset again. He adjusted the carrier, changed positions, whispered more softly, and even tried gentle rocking against his chest. Sweat ran down his forehead, his shoulders ached, but he refused to give up. He thought of all the times he had faced challenges before, the long nights, the early mornings, the moments of worry and doubt. Each of those moments had taught him perseverance, and this moment, though different, was no less demanding. A flight attendant approached once more, her expression calm and kind. She knelt beside him and offered suggestions, ways to hold the baby, gentle techniques to distract or comfort. He tried each one diligently. Sometimes it helped for a few seconds, sometimes not at all. He thanked her quietly, grateful for her presence, but he felt the weight of the baby's distress still pressing on him. It was a delicate balance, trying not to disturb the other passengers, while doing everything in his power to care for the child. He noticed a few passengers whispering, exchanging looks, their frustration evident. He tried not to let it affect him, focusing entirely on the baby. He felt a mixture of emotions: shame, exhaustion, determination, and love. The shame came from feeling judged, the exhaustion from the physical and emotional demands, the determination from the unwavering responsibility he felt, and the love from the deep connection he shared with the small being in his arms. Each emotion battled the other, but the love was strongest. It anchored him, gave him strength, and reminded him why he had to keep going. The father thought about his life, about the sacrifices he had made to provide for his child. The long shifts at work, the times he had skipped meals to make sure the baby had enough, the sleepless nights, the moments of worry when he questioned whether he was doing enough. All of it led to this moment, a test of patience, endurance, and unconditional love. He knew that traveling with a baby alone was challenging, but he also knew that he had to meet it with resilience. He could not let the stress or judgment break him. He looked around the cabin, noting the small gestures of kindness amidst the impatience. An older woman smiled faintly, giving him a small nod. A young couple whispered to each other, casting sympathetic glances. It was a reminder that not everyone was critical, that there were people capable of understanding. Those tiny acts of compassion felt like small lifelines, a quiet support in the midst of the chaos. He held on to them, drawing strength from the realization that empathy still existed in the world. Time passed slowly. The baby's cries ebbed and flowed, sometimes softer, sometimes louder. The father continued to rock, to whisper, to offer comfort in every way he could. He thought about the future, about the small moments of joy he wanted to share with the child. Walks in the park, bedtime stories, the first steps, the first words. Each moment was precious, and each required effort, patience, and care. He reminded himself that this flight, this moment of struggle, was just one of many challenges he would face as a single parent, and that he had the strength to endure it. The father reflected on the lessons he had learned as a single parent. He had learned resilience, patience, and creativity. He had learned to find joy in small victories and to remain steadfast in moments of difficulty. And now, on this plane, all those lessons were being tested. He was faced with a situation that demanded every ounce of his focus and love. He felt the fatigue, the frustration, the doubt, but he also felt the unwavering commitment to his child's well-being. The baby's cries continued, and the father's arms ached with the effort of holding and comforting. He whispered stories of imaginary lands, gentle adventures, and funny animals, hoping to capture the baby's attention. He hummed tunes softly, rocked rhythmically, and spoke words of love and reassurance. Each attempt was a small act of care, a demonstration of his commitment and dedication. Even when the baby cried louder, he did not falter. He continued because he understood that love required perseverance, patience, and unwavering presence. As the flight continued, he noticed a few passengers starting to relax, their initial frustration fading as they observed his dedication. Some offered smiles of encouragement, small gestures of understanding that lifted his spirits slightly. It reminded him that while the situation was challenging, there was still humanity around him, a recognition of effort, and the presence of empathy. It gave him hope that perhaps the struggle would not be met with only judgment, but with understanding and kindness. The father thought about the future again, about the life he wanted to create for his child. Each struggle, each challenge, each moment of exhaustion was part of a larger journey. He was building resilience, compassion, and strength not just in himself, but also in the child he held. The cries on this plane, while difficult, were a small part of the larger story of love, care, and dedication. He reminded himself that he was not alone, that many parents faced similar struggles, and that his effort mattered, even if it went unnoticed by some. Minutes and hours seemed to blend together. The father's focus never wavered. He continued to offer comfort, to whisper words of reassurance, to rock gently, and to hum softly. The baby's cries began to show signs of slowing, small pauses between the bursts, subtle shifts toward calm. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental to him. He felt a flicker of hope, a sense that perhaps, soon, the situation would improve. And he held on to that hope with every ounce of his being, knowing that love and patience were powerful tools, capable of soothing even the most challenging moments. The flight continued, and the father remained vigilant. Every passenger, every sound, every movement was part of the challenge, but he faced it with determination, love, and unwavering commitment. He thought about the lessons he would share with his child in the future: resilience, patience, empathy, and the understanding that love requires effort. And in that moment, he realized that even amidst the exhaustion, the cries and the challenges, he was creating a foundation of care and compassion that would last a lifetime. Though the journey was far from over, the father held the baby close, feeling the small body slowly relax in his arms. He whispered words of reassurance, soft stories, and gentle songs. He understood this was only the beginning of a long flight, but he also knew that he had the strength to endure. And in that quiet human moment, amidst the hum of the plane and the watchful eyes of strangers, he found a sense of calm, a flicker of hope, and the unwavering determination to care for the child he loved more than anything in the world. The cries of the baby had continued for what felt like an eternity, echoing through the cabin and testing the patience of everyone on board. The father's arms were tired, his voice hoarse from whispering, and his heart heavy with frustration and worry. He tried to remain calm, but the constant stress was wearing him down. Just when he began to feel that he could not take it any longer, he noticed a woman sitting a few rows ahead. She wore a crisp uniform, her posture straight and confident. There was a quiet authority about her, a calm presence that seemed to contrast with the chaos surrounding him. She was a Navy Admiral, distinguished and poised, and something in her eyes suggested she had seen more challenges than he could imagine. At first, he hesitated to approach her. He was used to handling things on his own, and he was aware of how daunting it could be to ask for help from a stranger, even one who seemed kind. But as the minutes dragged on and the baby's cries continued without pause, he realized that he had no choice. Exhaustion and desperation were pressing down on him, and he could not calm the baby on his own. He mustered the courage to look toward her, hoping for understanding, perhaps even advice. The Admiral noticed him immediately, her eyes meeting his with a soft yet steady gaze. There was no judgment there, only recognition of the struggle he was facing. It was as if she understood that being a parent, especially alone, required strength, patience, and an unyielding heart. He felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this moment would bring relief, a solution, or at least support in the midst of the overwhelming situation. Without a word, the Admiral stood and walked calmly down the aisle toward him. The father watched, slightly surprised, as she approached. She knelt gently to be at the baby's level and spoke softly, her voice low and melodic. She hummed a quiet tune, rhythmic and steady, and extended a hand in a slow, comforting motion. The baby paused, the cries slowing for a moment, as if listening to the unfamiliar, calming presence. The father watched, amazed, as the baby's tense body began to relax slightly. He could not believe the effect her calm demeanor was having. He handed the baby gently to her, Unsure but trusting the instinctive sense of reassurance she radiated. She continued to hum, swaying slightly, and spoke soft, soothing words that seemed to reach the baby on a deep level. It was not magic, nor a complicated technique, but a simple act of human connection. The baby's cries softened, the wails turning into whimpers, and then into quiet murmurs. The father felt his own tension ease slightly, a weight lifting from his shoulders as he realized that the baby was responding. Passengers watched in quiet amazement, some whispering to each other in disbelief at the sudden change. The Admiral's calm presence had transformed the atmosphere in the cabin. Where there had been frustration and impatience, now there was a sense of relief and quiet admiration. The father's gratitude was immense, though he struggled to put it into words. He wanted to thank her, to express how much her kindness meant. But he knew that words could not capture the depth of relief he felt as the baby began to settle. The father observed the careful movements of the Admiral. She was gentle, patient, and entirely focused on providing comfort. There was no rush, no visible impatience, only a steady commitment to helping the baby feel safe and calm. He marveled at the simplicity and effectiveness of her actions, realizing that sometimes human presence and understanding are far more powerful than any technique or tool. For several minutes, she continued to hum and sway, speaking softly, until the baby's eyes closed for a moment, resting against her shoulder. The father could hardly believe it. The small, fragile being in his arms had found calm through the unexpected kindness of a stranger. He felt a mixture of amazement, relief, and deep gratitude. This was not someone he had known, nor had he expected to encounter assistance, and yet here she was, offering compassion in the most difficult of circumstances. Finally, she handed the baby back to him gently, ensuring that the child remained calm in his arms. She spoke softly to him, reassuring him that he was doing everything right, that traveling alone with a baby was never easy, and that moments like these were part of the challenge of parenthood. Her words were simple, yet they carried a weight of understanding and encouragement that lifted the father's spirits. He felt a sense of connection, a reminder that human kindness could appear in unexpected ways and change everything in an instant. The baby, now calmer, rested in his arms, occasionally stirring but no longer crying uncontrollably. The father felt a profound sense of relief, mixed with awe at the generosity and skill of the Admiral. He realized that sometimes the most extraordinary help comes from ordinary gestures of care and empathy. He watched as she returned to her seat, composed and dignified, as if nothing unusual had occurred. Though the impact of her actions would not be forgotten around them, the cabin had shifted. The atmosphere was lighter, passengers more relaxed, and even those who had been frustrated now watched quietly, some with smiles of admiration. The father felt a renewed sense of hope, a reminder that even in challenging situations, help could appear in unexpected forms. The experience reinforced his belief in the importance of empathy, patience, and human connection. He looked down at his baby, feeling the small body resting more comfortably against his chest. The crying had stopped, replaced by quiet murmurs and soft movements. He whispered words of reassurance, gentle and loving, knowing that the presence of the Admiral had given them both a sense of calm and security. For the first time in hours, he felt that the flight might continue without further distress, that he could manage the remainder of the journey with patience and confidence. The father reflected on the experience, realizing that it was a lesson not only in parenting, but in human interaction. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, could have profound effects. The calm presence of someone who understood, someone who offered assistance without judgment, could transform a moment of chaos into one of relief and gratitude. He felt a deep appreciation for the unexpected ally who had stepped forward when he needed support most. As the flight continued, the father remained attentive to the baby, but with a renewed sense of hope and strength. He knew that challenges would continue, that the baby might become restless again, but he felt equipped to handle them with patience and care. The presence of the Admiral had reminded him that he was not alone, that human kindness existed even in the most unexpected places, and that small gestures could make a world of difference. The baby stirred slightly, and the father responded with gentle rocking and soft words. He felt a sense of calm settle over him, a quiet reassurance that he could navigate the remainder of the flight successfully. The experience had been exhausting, yet it was also profoundly moving, a reminder of the resilience of both parent and child, and of the extraordinary power of compassion. He looked across the cabin, noticing the subtle changes in the passengers around him. There was a shared sense of understanding, a recognition of the effort required to care for a child in difficult circumstances. The father felt gratitude not only toward the Admiral, but toward the small acts of patience and kindness he observed in others. It was a reminder that humanity, empathy, and understanding were present even amidst the challenges and discomfort of a long flight. Minutes passed, and the baby remained calm, occasionally stirring, but no longer crying uncontrollably. The father whispered softly, told gentle stories, and hummed low tunes, drawing from the calm example he had just witnessed. He felt more confident, more capable, and more connected to the small life he held in his arms. The bond between parent and child was strengthened through the shared experience, through perseverance, patience, and love. He reflected on the broader lessons of the moment. Life was full of unexpected challenges, and sometimes the support and guidance of others could transform even the most difficult situations. The Admiral's simple yet profound act of kindness had shifted the course of the flight, reminding him that empathy, patience, and understanding were powerful forces. He vowed to carry that lesson forward, not only in parenting, but in his interactions with others, knowing that small gestures of care could create lasting impact. The father continued to hold the baby, feeling the gentle rise and fall of the small chest against his own. He whispered words of love, soft and reassuring, and felt a sense of peace that had been absent for hours. The cries had subsided, replaced by quiet comfort, and the journey, while still long, felt manageable. He was reminded that perseverance, love, and the support of others could overcome even the most challenging moments. As the plane continued its journey, the father remained vigilant but calm. He knew that more challenges could arise, that the baby might become restless again, but he also knew that he had the strength, patience, and love to face them. The experience with the Admiral had provided not only immediate relief, but a lasting lesson in the power of compassion, human connection, and the extraordinary impact of small acts of kindness. The baby now rested quietly in his arms, eyes half closed and breathing steady, and the father felt a wave of relief wash over him. For the first time in hours, he could finally exhale, but he also felt a deep sense of gratitude that words could hardly express. The Navy Admiral had returned to her seat, but her presence lingered like a quiet reassurance in the back of his mind. He realized that in moments of chaos, calmness and compassion could create miracles, transforming despair into peace. He looked down at the baby, feeling the small body relax against his chest. The tiny hand twitched slightly, and he whispered softly, "It's okay, little one. We're going to be fine." Each word he spoke carried the love and reassurance he felt so strongly in his heart. The baby's breathing deepened, and he felt a surge of pride. He was doing this, he was holding on, comforting, and persevering, and now he had a renewed sense of hope that the rest of the journey would be manageable. The father thought about the power of connection. The calm, patient, and steady presence of the Admiral had changed everything. It was a reminder that sometimes help comes from unexpected places, and that empathy and kindness can bridge gaps that seem impossible to cross. He realized that this small human gesture had made a profound difference, not just for the baby, but for him as well. He felt a renewed energy to face the challenges that lay ahead. He shifted slightly in his seat to give the baby more comfort, rocking gently and humming softly. The passengers around them seemed to relax, sensing the change in the atmosphere. The tension that had been building slowly dissipated, replaced by an unspoken understanding. He noticed a few passengers exchanging quiet smiles, as if silently acknowledging the resilience required to handle such a situation. Those small signs of empathy made him feel less alone, and he was reminded that even amidst discomfort, there are always people capable of compassion. As the father continued to comfort the baby, he reflected on his journey as a single parent. There had been long nights, days filled with worry and fatigue, and countless moments of doubt. Yet each day had also brought joy, laughter, and love, forming the foundation of a bond that could not be broken. He realized that parenting required not only strength and patience, but also the willingness to seek help when needed and to accept kindness without hesitation. The Admiral's quiet intervention had been a perfect example of this lesson. He whispered stories to the baby, tales of playful animals, imagined adventures, and gentle worlds where everything was calm and safe. The baby's eyes fluttered and slowly closed, as if listening intently, finding reassurance in the soothing voice. The father felt a sense of accomplishment, not just for calming the baby, but for being present, attentive, and loving throughout the ordeal. Every gesture, every word, every gentle movement had mattered, reinforcing the bond between them. The father's mind wandered to the concept of human connection. How often had he witnessed strangers offering small acts of kindness, unnoticed and unacknowledged, yet capable of transforming someone's day or even a critical moment. The Admiral's presence had reminded him of the profound impact empathy could have. Her calm, deliberate actions had brought not only immediate relief, but a lasting lesson in patience, understanding, and the power of quiet support. He vowed to carry that lesson with him, to offer the same compassion to others whenever possible. He glanced around the cabin, noting the subtle changes. Some passengers who had appeared frustrated were now observing with quiet admiration, perhaps reflecting on the resilience required in parenting. The tension in the air had lifted, replaced by a sense of calm, a shared acknowledgement of the father's dedication and the transformative power of compassion. He felt grateful for the subtle but meaningful presence of those around him, the recognition that he was not alone in facing life's challenges. The father continued to rock the baby gently, feeling the small body relax completely. He whispered words of reassurance, soft songs, and stories, maintaining a calm rhythm that matched the baby's breathing. He realized that his own calmness and determination were essential, that the presence of love and care could create a safe space even in the midst of uncertainty. He felt the profound connection between parent and child, a bond strengthened through shared vulnerability, patience, and trust. He thought about the importance of empathy in life, not just in parenting, but in every interaction. The Admiral's actions had shown him that understanding, kindness, and patience could create moments of transformation, even in stressful and chaotic environments. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to be mindful of the impact he could have on others through small, thoughtful gestures. The lesson was clear. Compassion has the power to change lives, sometimes in ways that cannot be measured. The father observed the baby, now calm and content, and felt a deep sense of connection. He thought about the countless moments of struggle and triumph that lay ahead in raising a child alone. Each challenge would require patience, creativity, and love, but he was reminded that he was capable, resilient, and strong. The support and understanding he had experienced on the flight reinforced his confidence, providing him with the emotional strength to continue on this journey. As the flight continued, he remained attentive, responding to every small movement, every stir of the baby. He whispered softly, hums blending with the gentle murmurs of the cabin. He noticed the subtle smiles of other passengers, small gestures of encouragement that reminded him that human kindness existed even in the most ordinary spaces. The experience was a reminder that no act of empathy is ever wasted, and that understanding and compassion can create profound, lasting impact. He thought about the lessons he wanted to pass on to the baby as he grew. Love, resilience, patience, and compassion were all qualities he hoped to instill, beginning with the example of care and dedication he demonstrated each day. The flight had become an unexpected teaching moment, illustrating that even in difficult circumstances, support and understanding can create safety and calm. The father felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he was modeling these lessons through his actions, not just his words. Minutes passed quietly, the baby's breathing steady and calm. The father continued to rock gently, humming soft tunes and speaking words of reassurance. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not in grand gestures or achievements, but in the quiet, consistent presence he provided for the child. The bond between them had deepened through shared struggle, patience, and the understanding that love requires effort, attention, and care. He reflected on the unexpected nature of life's lessons. Sometimes the most profound experiences arise from ordinary moments, from small gestures of compassion and understanding. The Admiral's intervention had transformed what could have been a stressful and discouraging situation into a moment of hope, reassurance, and connection. The father felt inspired to carry this lesson forward, to offer the same empathy and patience to others in his life, and to recognize the power of small, thoughtful acts. He glanced around once more, observing the subtle changes in the cabin. Passengers were quieter, some watching with gentle smiles, a few exchanging whispered remarks about the calmness and patience displayed. The father felt a sense of solidarity, a recognition that even in shared spaces, understanding and empathy could create meaningful change. He realized that moments of connection, even brief, have the power to leave lasting impressions. The baby stirred slightly, and the father responded immediately, rocking gently and whispering soothing words. He felt a sense of peace and reassurance, knowing that he could provide comfort and security. The experience had reinforced his confidence, reminding him that he was capable of facing challenges with patience, love, and unwavering dedication. Each gesture, each word, each moment of care mattered, creating a safe and nurturing environment for the child. He thought about the journey ahead, both in the flight and in life. Challenges would arise, moments of uncertainty and struggle would appear, but he knew that with patience, love, and compassion, they could be navigated successfully. The flight had become a metaphor for the broader experience of parenting and life. Moments of difficulty, tempered by resilience, support, and understanding, leading to growth, connection, and fulfillment. The father continued to hold the baby, whispering stories, humming softly, and maintaining a calm rhythm. He felt a profound sense of gratitude for the lessons learned, the support received, and the opportunity to be present for the child. The flight, once a source of stress and anxiety, had transformed into a space of reflection, growth, and human connection. He understood that even in challenging circumstances, the presence of empathy, patience, and love could create lasting impact. As the baby rested peacefully, the father reflected on the experience with the Admiral. Her calm intervention had demonstrated the extraordinary power of kindness, patience, and understanding. He felt inspired to emulate these qualities, to approach life with empathy, and to recognize the profound effect small gestures can have on others. The flight had become more than a journey from one place to another. It had become a lesson in humanity, compassion, and the enduring strength of love. The father continued to whisper gently, hum softly, and maintain the steady rhythm that had brought calm to the baby. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had provided comfort, security, and love in a challenging situation. The experience reinforced his belief in the importance of human connection, empathy, and the power of small acts of kindness. As the flight continued, he felt prepared, confident, and hopeful, ready to face the remaining journey and the challenges of life with the same dedication and love he had shown throughout the flight. The rest of the flight passed with a quiet sense of relief. The baby, now calm, rested peacefully in the father's arms, occasionally stirring but quickly settling again with gentle rocking and soft words. The father felt a mixture of exhaustion and gratitude, realizing that the ordeal had tested not only his patience, but his resilience and love. Each moment of struggle had been met with determination, and the support of the Navy Admiral had shown him the power of unexpected kindness and human connection. As the plane continued its journey, the father reflected on the lessons he had learned from this experience. Parenting, especially as a single parent, required more than strength and perseverance. It required humility, the ability to accept help, and the recognition that kindness can appear in the most unlikely forms. The Admiral's calm presence had not only soothed the baby, but it also provided him with an emotional anchor, a reminder that he was not alone in facing challenges. The experience left a lasting impression, inspiring him to carry forward the empathy and patience he had witnessed. He looked down at the baby, small and serene, and felt a surge of love. Holding this tiny life, he thought about the countless moments that had led to this point, the long nights, early mornings, the quiet sacrifices, and the constant effort to provide stability and care. This flight had become a symbol of everything he had endured, and everything he hoped to teach the child: resilience, love, and the ability to navigate life's difficulties with courage and patience. The father noticed the subtle shifts in the cabin around him. Passengers who had once shown impatience were now quiet, some offering smiles and soft nods of recognition. There was a shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the struggle he had endured and the unwavering dedication he had shown. He felt a sense of solidarity, a reminder that even in moments of challenge, human compassion could create connection and understanding. It was a moment of quiet triumph, not for any grand gesture, but for the simple act of enduring and caring with love. He whispered stories to the baby, gentle tales of animals, adventures, and imaginary lands. Each word, each soft hum, carried comfort and reassurance. The baby's eyes fluttered and slowly closed again, lulled by the rhythm of his voice and the steady motion of his rocking. The father felt a profound sense of accomplishment, realizing that his presence, patience, and love had created a safe space, a sanctuary amidst the chaos of the flight. He understood that these small moments of care were the foundation of trust, security, and connection between parent and child. As the plane moved steadily toward its destination, the father thought about the broader implications of the experience. Life was full of unexpected challenges, moments when one might feel overwhelmed, exhausted, or isolated. Yet, even in those moments, the presence of empathy, understanding, and support could make all the difference. The Admiral's intervention had been brief but transformative, a powerful reminder that kindness and compassion are not only valuable, but essential in navigating life's difficulties. He reflected on the importance of human connection. Sometimes, a simple act of calm and care can shift the course of an entire experience, offering relief, reassurance, and hope. The Admiral had exemplified this, providing support without expectation, judgment, or fanfare. Her actions had reminded him that everyone has the potential to offer help, to provide comfort, and to create a moment of positive change. No matter how small it may seem, the father continued to hold the baby, feeling the gentle rise and fall of the small chest against his own. He whispered words of love, soft stories, and gentle songs, maintaining a steady rhythm that had brought calm and peace. He thought about the journey of parenthood, the ongoing challenges, and the lessons of resilience, patience, and empathy he wished to impart. The flight had become more than a trip. It had become a lesson in the power of love, compassion, and human connection. He noticed a few passengers glancing at him with soft smiles, their expressions reflecting admiration and understanding. The atmosphere in the cabin had shifted from tension to quiet appreciation, a subtle acknowledgement of the dedication and love required to care for a child. The father felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that his effort, patience, and unwavering presence had not gone unnoticed. It was a reminder that acts of care, no matter how small or personal, can have a ripple effect, touching the lives of others in ways that may not always be visible. The father thought about the journey ahead, both on this flight and in life. Challenges would continue to arise. Moments of uncertainty and difficulty would appear, but he felt confident in his ability to face them. He had learned that perseverance, patience, and love were powerful tools, capable of overcoming even the most trying situations. The experience on the plane had strengthened his resolve, reminding him of the importance of empathy, understanding, and human connection in navigating life's challenges. He whispered stories of gentle adventures, soft songs, and comforting words, maintaining a steady presence for the baby. The child stirred occasionally, but remained calm, reassured by the father's unwavering attention. He felt a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that each moment of care, patience, and love contributed to the child's sense of security and trust. He understood that these moments, though small, were building a foundation that would last a lifetime. The father reflected on the significance of unexpected support. The Admiral's calm intervention had provided not only immediate relief, but also a lasting lesson in the power of kindness. He realized that life often presents challenges that require more than individual effort. Sometimes, the support and understanding of others can transform a difficult situation into one of hope, growth, and connection. The experience had inspired him to approach life with greater empathy, patience, and awareness of the impact he could have on others. As the plane approached its destination, the father felt a mixture of relief, gratitude, and accomplishment. The journey had tested his patience, endurance, and love, yet he had emerged stronger, more confident, and deeply connected to his child. He understood that parenting was a continuous journey, filled with challenges and triumphs, and that the lessons learned in moments of difficulty were often the most profound. He looked down at the baby, small and serene, and whispered softly, "We did it, little one. You were so strong." The baby stirred slightly, then settled again, reassured by the steady presence and comforting voice. The father felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had provided care, love, and security through a challenging experience. It was a quiet triumph, a testament to the power of patience, empathy, and unwavering dedication. The father thought about the impact of compassion and understanding. The Admiral's simple yet profound act had transformed the experience, demonstrating the extraordinary potential of human kindness. He felt inspired to carry this lesson forward, to offer empathy and support to others, and to recognize the power of small gestures in creating meaningful change. The flight had become a lesson in humanity, compassion, and the enduring strength of love. As the plane touched down, the father continued to hold the baby, feeling the small body relax completely. He whispered words of reassurance and love, maintaining a calm and steady presence. Passengers around them shifted and prepared to disembark, some offering small smiles of recognition and understanding. The father felt a quiet sense of accomplishment, knowing that he had navigated the journey with patience, love, and unwavering dedication. He reflected on the broader meaning of the experience. Life's challenges are inevitable, but the presence of empathy, support, and understanding can transform even the most difficult moments. The lessons learned on this flight would remain with him, guiding him in parenting, in human interaction, and in the way he approached life. He understood that acts of compassion, no matter how brief or unexpected, have the power to change experiences, build trust, and create lasting impact. The father gently cradled the baby as they exited the plane, feeling the small body warm and secure against his chest. He took a deep breath, savoring the relief, gratitude, and sense of accomplishment. The journey had been challenging, exhausting, and at times overwhelming, but it had also been transformative, providing profound lessons in patience, love, and the power of human connection. He glanced back toward the Admiral, who was preparing to disembark as well. He wanted to thank her once more, to express the depth of his gratitude, but she offered a quiet nod and a gentle smile, acknowledging the shared understanding without words. It was a simple exchange, yet it carried immense meaning. The father felt a sense of closure, knowing that the experience had left a lasting impression on him, one that would influence his approach to parenting and life for years to come. The father continued to walk, holding the baby close, feeling a profound sense of love, resilience, and hope. He understood that challenges would continue, but he also knew that he had the strength, patience, and compassion to face them. The flight had been a microcosm of life, illustrating the importance of empathy, connection, and unwavering dedication. He felt grateful for the lessons learned, the support received, and the opportunity to demonstrate love in action. As they moved through the airport, the father reflected on the extraordinary power of small acts of kindness. The Admiral's calm presence had transformed a stressful situation into a moment of hope, reassurance, and human connection. He realized that these experiences, though brief, had a lasting impact, shaping perceptions, building trust, and inspiring future actions. The lesson was clear. Compassion matters, patience matters, and the willingness to help others can create profound, positive change. The father took a deep breath, feeling the baby stir and whispering softly to maintain calm and reassurance. He understood that the journey of parenthood would continue with its challenges and triumphs, but he felt equipped to face each moment with patience.